The knockout stage of the 2026 World Cup is officially underway, and it started with late drama as Canada booked their place in the round of 16 of the World Cup. Today, three football giants takes center stage with Brazil facing Japan, Germany taking on Paraguay, and arguably the tie of the whole last 32 as the Netherlands meet Morocco in a huge last 32 clash. About building your own website, blog, or project, check out Odoo using the link in the description below. If you want to start building your own website or brand online, you can check out Odoo in the description below and get started for yourself. Also, like I said, there's an event coming up in the 19th of July, so book your registration, fill the forms if you wanted to come to the event and watch a brilliant final and experience a great final experience the vibes, the culture, and the enjoyment, especially at the cafe as well. The event will be in Ishuru at the Spot Cafe. So if you want to come, book your registration, and you are more than welcome to come. So let's talk about the yesterday's match in the World Cup. And like I said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe for the new episode of the Football Plus F1 show. So let's get started. Um, South Africa against Canada. Canada win 1-0 thanks to the last minute winning goal from Estaquio, who doesn't look like a Canadian player, but it doesn't look like a guy from Canada. But anyway, with his name also. But anyway, he scored the winning goal for Canada, and Canada win 1-0. And they are through to the last 16 for the first time ever in the history of the World Cup. Congratulations to Canada. If you look at the game in general, I think in the first half, obviously the first half wasn't a great game as both teams didn't create a lot of chances. South Africa, although they had one or two chances, but not like big chances. Canada also had a chance with the header, but Williams made a catch to save it, but it wasn't like a big save. Like for the first 40 minutes, it wasn't a great game as both teams had like one or two chances, but not like big chances. But then the last 5 minutes of the second half, of the first half, that's where the game started to become a bit more alive. Canada had a great chance to score from the corner, but was blocked by one of the South African defenders. And not only that, the Canada could have had a penalty as well. And when you look at the replay, I mean, I think he tripped if you look at the Canadian player, he tripped the other player of South Africa. So I don't think it was a penalty. If it was the other way around, I think you would give it as a penalty for sure. But I don't think it was a penalty. So I think I think it was not a penalty, and I think it was a fair decision for the referee not to give it as a penalty or for the VAR. But yeah, the first half it wasn't a great match, except the last 5 minutes where Canada could have had a penalty and had a very good chance from the corner. Second half, Canada, at first half it was kind of 50-50, but I think in the second half, Canada were the better team. They had better chances to score. Williams made some very good saves. The problem is with Canada is that they lacked cutting edge in the attack. They start to get better because in the first half I don't think they played quite well. In the second half, that's where they started to get better. They started to have more control. And yeah, you could say South Africa had a lot of the ball, but I don't think South Africa, even though they had a lot of the ball, I don't think they created a lot big chances. So yeah, but Canada, they improved in the second half. They were better. In the first half, they made some. They had some issues. They were not they were not decisive enough in their passing, in their decision making going forward also. And especially, but even though despite they were not great in the first half, I think, before they were very disciplined. They were very disciplined and didn't give much away. And even when the goalkeeper, of South Africa was slowing things down on time when, he was sometimes he was time wasting. I felt like, Canada were patient and they were very compact. Even though it wasn't a great performance from Canada, I think going forward, I think defensively they were very strong, very compact, very organized, very disciplined, and they did the job professionally well. Especially, especially when South Africa had a lot of the ball. Sometimes you need to make sure your defensive are very strong and you don't give much away. And I think Canada did that really well. They they didn't allow South Africa to have many big chances. South Africa had possession. They had one or two chances, but not like big chances. Not like chances where you say, oh, the goalkeeper really had to make a big deal of it to try to make a big save on it. So yeah, but you have to say towards the end, Canada improved. They had some chances where they could have scored, but like I said, they lacked that ruthlessness in front of goal. But then towards the end, from Estaquio, Estaquio is that his name? I just said name. Yeah, it's the Q. Yeah, it's the Q. Scored the winning goal for Canada, and it was a quality finish, quality goal, and obviously scored the winning goal for Canada, which gives them a place in the last 16. So congratulations to all the Canadians. I have a friend who's in the same university as me. He's a kind of an Egyptian Canadian person. His name is Ziad, and yeah, I just congratulated him and for his country's or one of his countries' qualification to the last 16. So yeah, but especially look at what Jesse Marsh said. In his team talk after they won the match. You could clearly see how much it meant to all the Canadians. That it was a big win. Especially, it wasn't an easy match. South Africa were they had a lot of possession, and I think like Canada, one of the things they were at the best version. I mean, in my opinion, the games they were at the best version was against Qatar, was against Bosnia, even though they didn't win. Against Switzerland to some extent in this game, I don't think they were at their best. Maybe it's got to due to the first time they play outside Canada, because all of the games they played in the group stage were in Canada. So maybe it's the first time they used to the first time they played in this kind of stadiums like Los Angeles in America, where in big games in the World Cup like this you have to step up. And maybe also the players felt the pressure, because obviously you are one of the hosts, and even though they're not playing at home, and you feel the pressure. You have you are the favorites, because let's be honest, before this game Canada were the favorites to qualify, and maybe the players felt the pressure in the game, so that's why they didn't perform as much as I expected them to do, because I thought Canada were going to perform well and win this game like 2-0 or 3-1 quite comfortably. But obviously we all know football also doesn't always work like that, and especially in knockout stage games, even though you should win games, sometimes you have to work hard for it, especially when the opponents will give you a tough run for your money. And South Africa, they gave a tough run for Canada's money, but Canada, they coped with the challenges really well. Like I said, defensively they were very strong, and when they had chances, they scored, and also they should have scored more, especially in the second half, because like I said, they could have been more critical front of goal, especially the chances from Jonathan David. I don't think he had his best game in terms of his finishing. So yeah, but the most important thing that Canada win, Canada go through, and yeah, that they'll play against Netherlands or Morocco. So the Canada, the disadvantage that Canada might have is that they play, all of in the knockout stages they play their games in America, not in Canada, whereas Mexico and USA have that advantage. But like I said, if Canada won their game, I think against or drew the game against Switzerland, they would have had a chance to play in the knockout stages in Canada. So, and also in the last 16, also if I'm not mistaken, if they won the group, they would have also played in the last 32 in Canada, but also in last 16. So yeah, but at the same time, even though it's not easy for Canada, is that they don't play at home, and you could clearly see in this game that even though they won, it wasn't the best performance, and clearly they have, they don't have that crowd home crowd effect behind them, and the home fans supporting them. You could clearly see it kind of affected them in this game, but at the same time, I think it's also good for Canada that they've had this kind of not the best performance in this game, but they managed to win. So in the game against Morocco or against Netherlands, they can perform better. So yeah, and you look at the job that Jesse March also he's done. Like obviously you see him in the team talk saying that you guys made all the Canadians proud and heroes and etc etc. But you look at the job he's done. He's done a very good job. Obviously, he's been given some stick for for the United States, from United States for what he did with United States as the manager, for his Lee's job, and so on, so on. But Generally, he's a good manager. He's a decent manager, and he's done a great job with Canada. I think he's gotten Canada to the Copa America semifinals 2 years ago, and now he's gotten Canada to the last 16 of the World Cup, which they've never done ever before. So yes, they're obviously they're one of the hosts, of course, but still, they played in this game in America, and they won. So and they still won. So you look at the job that Jesse Marsh has done. Especially, he installed a team unit around Canada. He installed a team unit. He installed fans connecting together. He installed a team connecting together, and he installed a team and players who die for each other, who play for each other, who work for it really hard for each other. A great work ethic. And you can clearly see this kind of Canadian team looks like a proper team. It's not like a bunch of individuals and that's it. It looks like a proper team that wants to, play for each other, die for each other, and Jesse March is, of course, he's a big part of it because he can clearly see he's sometimes when you're a manager and you take charge of it and you are in charge of a team, a national team or a club, you want to feel you're in control. You want to feel you're the main man of the team. And you can clearly see, I think, Jesse March in this team, he's the main guy for this Canadian national team. Of course, they're fantastic players, but he's the main guy. He does the decisions, he does all the tactics, and so on. So he's done a quality job, and I think he's a big part of Canada going very far. So and they have very good players. I mean, you look at Esti Stakao, he's been one of Canada's best players. You look at also players like especially players coming off the bench. You look at players like Alfonso Davies. He came in off the bench, especially he's had some injury problems. He brought in the likes of Promise David, and they kind of made an impact also to help Canada to win the game as well. And sometimes when you make changes, can obviously they didn't score the goal, but of course substitutions can help you to bring you fresh legs and to build up to that towards that scoring that goal. So it happened for Canada, and congratulations. And yeah, and as man of the match is the cow, and he well deserved. You look at players like also Cornelis, the centre back. I thought he had a very good performance for Canada as well. So congratulations to Canada for qualifying, and they'll play against Morocco or Netherlands. I think of course, they will be going as underdogs. Is one of they'll be Texas, by the way, in this game in Houston Stadium. I think they will be for sure be the underdogs against Netherlands or Morocco. I think Morocco are a better team than Canada. Morocco, they don't have, obviously, they're not amazing going forward also, but at least they have Sabiri and Brahim Diaz who can be clutch. Defensively, they are very strong, even though they conceded 2 goals against Haiti. So I think Morocco would be. I think if Morocco face Canada, I think Morocco would beat them. If Netherlands also go through, I think with the qualities they have in attack, I think that could be a problem for Canada if they play each other in the last 16. Defensively, the Netherlands have some vulnerability, so this is something that Canada can cause problems of. But I think going forward of the attack of Netherlands is very very good, and I think this is something that Canada will have to be aware of if they play each other. Because Canada, defensively they can be shaky at times, as it showed in the game against Switzerland. So, yeah, and so I think one of those teams who play against Canada, I think one of them will most likely win. Uh, Obviously, Canada still have a chance. Of course, they have a chance because obviously the upsets and drama and teams that are not expected to win. Of course, they can win. This is the World Cup. Anything can happen. Nothing is impossible. But at the same time, I think if you ask me, Netherlands are going to play Canada or Morocco against Canada. I think Canada or Morocco would beat. Sorry, Netherlands or Morocco would beat Canada, in my opinion. So, yeah, but I mean, they'll for sure give a good one for one of those teams, man. For sure, they'll make it difficult, and they're a good team going forward. They can be fantastically well. I mean, not. I mean, this game, going forward, they could be very very good, but obviously sometimes they lack that cutting edge in front of goal. They didn't lack it against Qatar, but against Bosnia to some extent, against Switzerland, and in this game, they lacked that cutting edge in front of goal. They have players who can score goals, but they lacked that ruthlessness in front of goals. I think that's what might cost Canada place in the quarterfinals. So because yes, defensive, of course, they have to improve, but I think going forward, even though they scored I think 9 goals over 4 games or 10 goals over 4 games, I think going forward they can improve a bit more, because sometimes there are chances where you would expect them to take it and they don't take it. So yeah. But as for South Africa, I mean, it's been a proud journey for them. I mean, they've had a great World Cup journey. Obviously, they're out of the World Cup, but I think they get those South African players and Huge Bruce, the manager, they can be proud of themselves for what they achieved. Especially not only qualify for the World Cup for the first time since 2010, and they didn't, and they also did it in other country, not like hosting the World Cup, because obviously the last time they played the World Cup was in 2010, where they hosted the World Cup. Not only they qualified for the World Cup, they also had a decent run for the World Cup. I mean, they had difficulties in the group stages early on against Mexico, but they bounced back really well, drawing with Czech Republic and winning against Korea. And in this game, I thought they competed quite well. They had a lot of possession, but like I said, I don't think they created many big chances. I thought Williams, the goalkeeper, I thought he had a very good game with some of the saves he had to make. Um, but yeah, I think what South Africa lacked in this game, I think they lacked, like I said, I don't think they created big chances to score. And defensively, they were shaky. They were shaky sometimes, especially in the second half, where Canada started to get better and they created more chances. So yeah, but generally, I think South Africa and the players and the fans and the coach should be proud of what they achieved, because for South Africa to not only qualify for the World Cup but also to qualify for the knockout stages is not usually what they've done. It's not something they've done a lot in their history. So congratulations to South Africa and for a great World Cup campaign. And yeah, hopefully they'll qualify for the next World Cup also. Um, Now let's move on to today's games. Last 32, Brazil against Japan. Carlo Ancelotti's side, coming back off winning the Group C against Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. They'll face against a Japanese side, a Japan side, who they did quite well in the group stages. I mean, they qualified out of the group of Netherlands and Sweden and Tunisia. They competed really well against Netherlands, and they were behind twice, and they managed to come back twice. Smashed Tunisia. Arguably should have won the game against Sweden, but they're a very good team. They're a team that obviously they don't have the most talented players in the world. They don't have the most technically gifted players in the world, but they've got a proper team. They've got a team who plays for each other. They've got a team who can play good football. They're a team who can go for it. They're a team who can cause problems. So I think Brazil, of course, they are the favorites to win this game. It's going to be interesting to see how Ancelotti is going to approach this game. Is he going to go with the same midfield? Because obviously, I don't think Brazil would want to be outrun or outpaced or outfought by the midfield like they did in the game against Morocco. So maybe could Carlo Ancelotti make some changes in his midfield? Obviously, Cunha is going to start. Obviously, he's been in very good form. Vinicius is gonna start. Ryan is most likely going to start as well, especially Rafinha is still injured. Neymar, I expect him to come in for the last 15, 20 minutes. Maybe he can make an impact. I mean, if you look at this game, for sure, it's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, Japan are a very good side. Brazil are the favorites, of course, but it's not a foregone conclusion. I think Japan, they're a team, like I said, they can play good football. They're a team who can be very competitive. They showed in the last World Cup where they beat Spain and Germany in group stages. They showed they're a team that could be competitive. They showed they're a team that they are not afraid to play against the big teams. They're a team also that showed they're a team that can go toe to toe. Also, they're not like a team that park the bus and play counter attack. They're a team that can go toe to toe with the big teams also. Even when they're losing, they can they show they can play toe to toe like they showed against the Netherlands. Even though to some extent Netherlands tried to hold on for that 2-1 lead. So yeah, I mean they've got a very good team. I mean they've got a manager as well who's been at the team for what 5-6 years, something like that, 6-7 years, something like that. So he's done a decent job there, and they've got quality players, the likes of Itu, the likes of Kamada, Tanaka, who I think plays for Leeds. Yeah, Tanaka plays for Leeds. So they've got good players. Obviously, like I said, they have players who are key players missing for Japan, the likes of Kubu, the likes of Minamino, the likes of Endo. but they've got quality. They still got quality players. They still got a quality team. They still are a team that that they can still play for each other. And yes, one or two key players can be missing from Japan, but they showed that they're a team that can still keep the unity, keep the spirit, keep the same level of concentration, keep the same level of identity, same level of mentality also, and not let their mentality or identity drop, even though they have some of their key players not playing for the team. Whereas Brazil, I mean, they had a really difficult performance against Morocco in the first game, and they dropped points. Then after that, they beat comfortably Haiti, even though it wasn't the best performance. They beat comfortably Scotland, where they were looking very strong in the first half. Second half, they conceded some chances, but first half they were looking very strong. But generally, like, they beat Scotland and Haiti comfortably. But obviously, this is another different level of test. Brazil is, it's a game that they should win. They are expected to win, but obviously will not be straightforward because, like I said, Japan will give anybody a good run for their money. They showed in the last World Cup, and they are experienced in the World Cup. They've been in World Cups for many years now. They've always been in the World Cup, like 2026, 2022, 2018, 2014. I believe also 2010, if I'm not mistaken. So they're a team who are experienced in playing World Cups. So yeah, they used to this kind of occasions. They used to playing against the big teams. They played against Belgium in World Cup 2018, where they were 2-0 down, but they lost 3-2 towards the end. They played against the big teams also, like I said, in 2022, when they played against Spain, Germany, and also Croatia in the last 16, who have done really well in the last two World Cups. So yeah, for sure, Japan will give a good run for the money for Brazil. Will not be easy game, but I do expect Brazil to win this game. I think yes, but yeah, I think Japan have got quality players who can cause problems and will not be straightforward. And Brazil sometimes can be exposed, especially defensively and midfield. So I think this is something Japan can cause problems on. But I think with the individual qualities that Brazil have, the likes of Vinicius Junior, the likes of Cunha, especially the attack they have, and especially they could also bring Neymar last 15, 20 minutes. I think that the individual attacking brilliance they have, I think that will give them an edge in this game, will help them to win this game. So I'm going for a 2-1 win for Brazil. I think Vinicius is going to step up once again. He stepped up in the first three games, and I think he's going to step up once again for Brazil. So I'm going for a 2-1 win for Brazil and Vinicius Junior to be the main man of obviously for Brazil. Next game, Germany against Paraguay. Germany, they won the group, winning 7-1 against Curacao. They didn't have the best performance against Ivory Coast, but they managed to turn it around and win the game. Against Ecuador, it wasn't the best performance from their side also. They lost 2-1, even though they had already qualified and they had already won the group. But they had some difficulties in the last two games, especially against Ecuador and Ivory Coast. They're going to face each other in Boston Stadium, um, Germany and Paraguay. As you look at Paraguay, I mean they had a poor start to the World Cup campaign by losing 4-1 to USA. They had a great win against Turkey, even though when they were down to 10 men, and they managed to get a draw at least against Australia. So they've had a decent World Cup. Obviously, qualifying for the knockout stages obviously is not something what Paraguay used to do. So congratulations for the qualification. But I think if you look at this game between Germany and Paraguay, I think it's a straightforward one to call who's going to win. I think Germany should win. Listen, who knows? I mean, we've seen some upsets in this World Cup. Cabo Verde getting a great result against Spain. Portugal joined to Congo. And Paraguay, I think they're a team that like to be very defensive. They're a team that like to be very strong defensively. They showed in the game against Turkey before and after the red card, where they approached very defensively and they went with the low block, try to stop the opponent from scoring and make it difficult for the opposition. And then when they have chances in the attack, in the maybe in the counter attack or set pieces, this is when something they can um, rely on. So to score. So I think this will be a similar approach also for Paraguay. I think they'll defend and try to play. Yeah, they'll try to score in set pieces or counter attack. And defensively, they can be very strong. I mean, last two games they kept two clean sheets. So Germany, obviously, they'll try to attack, they'll try to create chances, they'll try to dominate possession. But I think the qualities they have, especially in the attack, where they can, even though it's not a great German side, they're a team that can be ruthless in front of goal as they showed against Curacao. However, playing against a low block side, I think will make it difficult for Germany. So, but I do expect Germany to win with the qualities that they have, and especially they're a better team than Paraguay. So I'm going for a 2-0 win for Germany. But I don't think it will be straightforward. I mean, they should win, but I don't think it will be straightforward because I think Paraguay will make it difficult to try to play low block. And obviously, when you play against teams who sit very very deep, it's always very difficult. No matter if you're a big nation or a small nation, like or a nation that is not experienced in the World Cup, like Paraguay are, for example. So, yeah. Final game: Netherlands against Morocco. That's a very very good game. It's a tricky one to call because it's almost like 50-50 between both of those teams. Netherlands are better in the attack, and Morocco are better defensively. I think in this game, what could decide one of the factors could decide this game. I think the midfield battle. I think the midfield battle could be very, very, very crucial. If you look at, if you look at, if you look at the midfield, obviously Netherlands have got quality midfielders, the likes of Gravenberch, the likes of Frankie De Jong. They've got quality midfield, and by the way, they're going to play against each other in Monterrey in Mexico. So so yeah, but you look at the midfield. The players who are expected to play for Netherlands, the likes of Gravenberch, De Jong, Reinders, and you look at for Morocco, it's Ayoub Boadi, who obviously had a great performance in the first game against Brazil, El and Y. So I think that midfield battle will be key, will be crucial. I think one of them who wins that midfield battle, I think will go on and to win the game because other than that, I feel like it's almost 50-50 in other departments of the pitch. I think like I said, Netherlands are better going forward, and Morocco are better defensively. Even though they can see 2 goals against Haiti, generally they've shown they can be very strong defensively. So yeah, I think also especially Netherlands with the attack they have the likes of Robbie, who's stepped up really well for Netherlands, scoring 3 goals in 3 games. Gakpo also they can bring players off the bench. Ronald can bring players off the bench, the likes of Somerville, who scored against Sweden. Gakpo also he stepped up for Netherlands in the first in against Sweden also. So they're a team, they're a team who could score goals. They're a team who can punish you, and they're a team that will create chances. Um, but especially because I think if they are a team that, let's say, for example, tries to hold on for really last 15-20 minutes, I think that's when they will struggle. Like it showed the game against Japan, but against in games against Sweden and Tunisia, they wanted to go for it. They wanted to score more goals. They kept going. They were not like, okay, we're winning, so let's sit back. So yeah, I think I think it's better for them in this game, even though Morocco are very good defensively and they will respond even though when they're losing. I think it's better for Netherlands to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going towards the end of the game, unless there is a time where yeah, obviously they're gonna have to defend, especially maybe it's getting nervy and Morocco starting to create chances and so on. As for Morocco, I mean they had a great performance against Brazil in the first game. But in the last 2 games against Scotland and Haiti, not the best. They beat Scotland, but it was not the best performance. Haiti, not the best. They conceded 2 goals, but they won. But this, when you play, obviously, when you play in group stages, sometimes it's different. Sometimes you come with a different approach. Sometimes you're not at your best condition. But when you play in knockout stages, this is where it gets tough and it gets really really tested. And this is where the bigger the games are, the bigger the more motivated you will be, the bigger the performance your performance will be. So I think. Morocco will be more, obviously they're gonna. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be playing much better than they've played in group stages, and they're gonna be much better. So yeah, my prediction is strict one score, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw, and for penalties, I think it will go to extra time, and I think Netherlands will win 2-1. I think the Netherlands with the quality they have in their attack, especially they could bring players off the bench like Somerville, like they showed in the game against Sweden. I think the attacking firepower they have and the fresh legs they could bring in off the bench, I think will help them to win the game. So I think it will be 1-1, 1-1 normal time, but I think Netherlands